I'm so excited to welcome our next guests, tech founders and tech innovators, Dave Salvant and Songe LaRon. Dave and Songe are co-founders of Squire, an innovative payments platform for barbershops. So before we get started, I just want to remind everyone that we are really excited to take your questions at the end. Please add any questions that you have for Dave and Songe to the chat or the Q&A tab. And if you're in the chat, please be sure to say hi and let us know where you're tuning in from. So, hey guys, how are you doing today?
Good. Can't complain.
Great.
I'm loving that artwork behind you. I'm like, I need that.
Thank you. It was a Christmas gift.
Great. Well, Monique and I are both so excited to have the chance to chat with you today. But I'd love for you guys to introduce yourselves and tell the audience a little bit about your backgrounds and what inspired you to become entrepreneurs.
I'll go first. Yeah, so Dave Salvant here, co-founder of Squire. Before starting Squire, I was in business school at the University of Wisconsin. Prior to that, I was in financial services in New York City between JP Morgan and AXA. But now that I look at it, I've been working on Squire longer than I have been working on it at anywhere else. So we started this company in 2015. So 6 years now, January 2015. So it's our little anniversary.
Happy anniversary.
yeah. 6 years, it goes by fast. The impetus for the idea was both Songe and I were busy New York City professionals. It was very difficult for us to get haircuts. And this is a time when Uber, open table and things like that were starting to take off. And we realized that, technology really hasn't gone and changed the barbershop space. So that's kind of where what was the genesis of Squire.
Yep, I'll go. So, co-founder Squire, obviously, and before that, I was a corporate lawyer. So total different world. I had went to Yale for law school, and I was practicing like corporate finance, M&A in New York City. And definitely, I wasn't really fulfilled by the work, so I wanted to do something more entrepreneurial. Dave was in a similar phase of life, and we didn't want to stay on the corporate track. So we brainstormed ideas, and as Dave said, came across this, born out of our own experience, having been going to barbershops for years, and seeing that it hadn't really improved. The process was very antiquated and inefficient, and we thought that there should be a better solution for barbers, barbershop owners, and people going to get a haircut as well.
So when you first went out to pitch this idea, what were some of the initial reactions from investors?
The initial one was like, "Oh, this for Black barbershops?" 100%, 90% of the time, that was the first thing that came out of the investors' mouths. But it was very difficult in the beginning. We were lucky enough to find folks that invested in us at the ideation phase. We didn't have a product. We had basically a clickable prototype, and we're able to secure some funding based on that. So I think we were lucky, and we were at the right place at the right time and met the right people that were willing to write a check.
I would be interested in knowing how many times did you hear no? And, before you were able to secure your first dollar, and how important was it to the two of you to not give up just because you heard the word no?
We heard a lot of no's. I've lost count, and it wasn't only before our first dollar. We continued to hear a lot of no's even after we raised that first amount of funding. And it's one of those things where we always believed in it, we always thought it was a great opportunity, and we thought that we saw something that these investors just didn't get. So we didn't let the no stop us. I think we applied to every single accelerator in New York and got rejected from all of them. I don't even think we got to the interview stage for any of them. But we just kept going. If you believe in it, you have to expect that the reason it's such a great opportunity is because you see something most don't. So naturally aren't going to get it too. So you keep moving forward.
Yeah, FinTech is a really hot space right now. And as you guys, you and I have all discussed, payments has a lot of financial upside if you can, really capture an audience. So can you tell us a little bit about, exactly what the company does from, a technical perspective for the client so people get a sense of that, and what it was about this company that eventually convinced investors that this was a huge opportunity?
So Squire, in a nutshell, it's a kind of like a full fledged back-end software system for barbershop. And what I mean by that is we do everything from point of sale, which is the actual processing of credit card, to online booking, which is actually booking an appointment, to payroll, to CRM, to instant deposits of the funds that they make from the business, to COVID, COVID qualifying, procedures. So we do everything that's needed to run the barbershop from a management standpoint, so the owner and operator doesn't have to waste time doing the mundane things. The technology does it for them.
Dave, I have a question because you brought up COVID. How was Squire impacted during this pandemic, and how quickly were you able to pivot to ensure that you're still able to scale the company?
So COVID was a kind of like a inflection point in the business for us. It was a point that we had to really act fast and utilize our resources and dedicate it to solving the problem. So we launched about 4 products to solve the COVID need in the barbershop in about 4 or 5 weeks. So we did a online gift card. So essentially, users can donate to their barber so they can support them during the time they were shut down. That was number 1. Number 2 is we launched a virtual waiting room so folks don't queue up in the barbershop, and it encouraged social distancing. Number 3, we became a PPP lender, partnering with Goldman Sachs and a 7A lender. And I know I'm missing one song. The waiver form. So we actually created a waiver form so folks can certify that they haven't been in a COVID affected region or have been in contact with someone that has COVID. And 5, we actually launched a way for folks to pay for their haircuts before they came in if they hadn't already. So it encouraged the contactless payment procedure. So we launched 5 products in about 5 or 6 weeks, and all resources were dedicated towards this effort.
That's pretty amazing to build all of those products so quickly. You guys have some really fierce technical chops, and I'm sure that all of these small businesses are so grateful to have been on your platform and have somebody that could help them deal with the crisis really efficiently and keep money coming in the door. So, one of the things that we really want to share with our audience today is a little bit about kind of the inside scoop on your capital raising process. I know you guys just did a Series C, so you're way past Series A. You've raised close to $100 million, I think, in total investment. And, we'd love to hear kind of about the initial journey, with your seed round, with your Series A round, and some of the takeaways that you had in, having to raise such an enormous amount of capital to fuel the growth of this company.
Yeah, we've experienced fundraising from a lot of different perspectives. So early on, it was very, very challenging for us. We experienced a lot of no's. Investors would often kind of question how big this can get, question the market size. And we were always kind of battling uphill to get them to see exactly like what we were doing and how big it can get and to get excited about it. And then most recently, because our business has changed and we're really more kind of like in the vertical, FinTech space, which as you said is very hot, there's been a lot more interest. So our last few rounds has kind of been on the other side of the spectrum where we've seen how it is when you're kind of like, a hot company, and we can speak to the entire gambit, So earlier on, since that's what you asked, we did Y Combinator in summer 16. And after Y Combinator, we raised what we would kind of look at as our first seed round. And we raised a pretty successful round, but it definitely wasn't, we weren't one of the top most exciting companies in our batch.
You are now, right? Top right.
Nah.
Nominated top 100 ever.
We are the top 100, which is crazy to me to be on a list of like Airbnb and DoorDash and all these other companies. It's a great honor. But at that time, it was a little different, and we didn't have like a lead, like one kind of like big name VC who could write the check and then make it easier to get everybody else on board. So as a result, we raised like a lot of little checks from like seed investors, seed funds, micro funds, whatever they're called, angels, and we really were just taking money from wherever we could just to move forward. And that was kind of how we approached fundraising all the way up until we did raise the A. It was always just like raise as we need it, so we don't run out of money. And that's not what I advise if you don't, if you can avoid doing that, because it results in a lot of dilution. But you have to do what you have to do with the founder. And if that's what it takes, you have to do whatever it takes to move forward.
I want to make a statement because to see this business, and Dave, I know you much better than I know your partner, but to see young Black men sit in a space where your company is mentioned with the Airbnbs, etc. You are truly paving and setting the tone for the future of Black and brown founders. And thank you for that. Thank you for not giving up, because, part of our journey is always also the doors we're opening for other people. And so how much have you raised and what's the current valuation?
We raised $105 million, just over $105 million. And the valuation is over $250 million.
Wow. Congratulations on that. Do you know if maybe Delane, did he raise because there's not a lot of people who can say they've raised $100 million.
I think so there's twofold. There's like, Robert Refkin, but he's not in the young crew.
Right.
Robert Refkin, and who somebody else saw?
Calendly.
He
just raised he's killing it.
Topi from Calendly, he raised at like a $3 billion valuation recently. I don't think it's out there yet, and he's probably raised another 100-something million. But I think people get caught up in the numbers. If I were to do it again, I'll probably raise less money, because you want your ownership. Ownership is critical. But, at this stage, you're not getting diluted that much. But early on, you get diluted a lot. So it's when you raise the capital and how much leverage you have when you raise capital, how well your business is doing. So just to the 60 million that we just raised is like half of our dilution, not even half of our dilution from our Series A. So that's how it works.
Yeah, Erica and I tell, founders that we've invested in, or even the ones that we just talked to, how important it is to strategically take investment dollars. And you do need a founder-friendly investor where your company can be protected, because ownership is everything. But the great thing is that this is a journey where you're learning and you are able to, understand it. And when you create your second company, you'll do it a different way, that's more suited to what you need for the company.
Yeah,
I agree.
that's a great point, Monique. And, one of the things that I would love for you guys to talk about is, what sort of methods you use to establish traction in order to support, whatever the valuation was, at those early rounds, and how you were able to, develop traction and proof of concept. I know you had to do your first raise, from just, an idea stage and sort of a clickable prototype. But what were some of the ways that you guys hustled to show investors that people wanted this product and they were willing to pay for it?
Oh man. So I'll start from early. So we had the clickable prototype. Our product was very different then. It was a mobile app first, and we were trying to be like the Uber for barbers kind of thing, where individual barbers would use it. And we couldn't get, so eventually we did build the app, and we learned pretty quickly that app wasn't a great product for the barbershops. They weren't really adopting it, but we had to still show traction. So we were in New York at this time. We were working out of WeWork in Chelsea, and we started doing pop-up barbershops at WeWork locations, where we would have this big ass heavy barber chair, and Dave and I would literally lug it, put it in the Uber, and lug it from WeWork to WeWork to WeWork. And we would have the barber come, and then they would use the app, and all the WeWork members would have to book on the app to get an appointment. And we did that for like months. I don't even know how long, probably over.
We did about 20 of those.
We were
things.
known as the barber. Yeah. All the WeWorks knew us, Adam Newman, the CEO, like they all knew us because we were like the barber guys. Like everybody would just get a haircut. And that's how we got kind of known early on. But yeah, that's one of the things we did.
Yeah, and then we actually bought a barbershop in New York City. And I tell you that's probably one of the best moves we made in the history of this company.
Really? Why?
Yeah, because like like Silicon Valley, they want you to get your hands dirty. They want you to eat your own dog food. So now, our Series B and Series C, like, and maybe our Series A, but our Series B and C, they're like, wow, you guys own the barbershop. And it's like, from a marketing standpoint, it was ingenious, but we were just at the time just trying to figure out the best software we can build for the company. But I guess it made sense for us, and it was a huge gamble. I think when we made that bet, we probably had $40,000 in the bank, and it took 20,000 of our 40,000. So it was a huge gamble at that time, but it definitely paid off.
Yes, taking the risk. If you don't, you won't ever know, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think that's one of the most amazing things that I hope that all founders, especially when they're raising funds, that they understand you actually have to know how to do the work. You have to be able to do the work to speak on behalf of what your company can do and what problem it can solve. And so I'm so glad you actually brought that up, Dave, because that's such a good point.
And you have to be resilient. Like I always say, like you need to do everything legal and as ethical as possible to make your company successful. Like I'm not saying go breaking laws, but like you need to be so committed to this idea that you'll damn near do whatever it takes to get it done. Like another story is after we started YC, that's around the time where we kind of pivoted to the barbershop management platform instead of the app, and we finally started getting traction. We finally started having an entire barbershops using the system as it was meant, and our numbers started going through the roof. And then right before demo day, we got like DDoS. To this day, Dave and I don't know what exactly happened, but somebody took all our systems down, something happened, but basically our system went offline. And these 4 or 5 shops we had using it basically couldn't operate. And they were calling us, cursing us out, pissed off, just like, and we didn't know what to do. Our numbers were going down, and we had demo day coming out. So one of the shops that we were in the Bay Area for YC, one of the shops was in Sacramento, the highest producing one. and I actually drove all the way down there from the Bay and sat in the shop, and I actually had to just like pay the barbers cash to keep using Squire. And I was like, look, it's gonna be working again. It's gonna be working just give us a couple days. They're losing money. And we literally like paid them like $500 each. And the owner probably more than that, just to not churn.
Customer retention strategy. I love that.
What are you gonna do? I had no choice, and we couldn't lose them. We could not lose them before demo day. Yeah. And to this day, they're one of our best customers. They're still using us.
Wow. That's really wonderful. So tell us a little bit about, your growth in terms of user growth, revenue growth, and what kind of moves you had to make in 2020 to make sure that this business was able to stay on track.
You're on mute, Dave.
So, I mean, yeah, 2020 was a very interesting year with COVID and what have you. Our revenue went to kind of like zero in April, like completely shut down. And then coming out of COVID,
everyone did their haircut, right?
Yeah, I mean, everybody got their haircut, but we grew about 400%. We went from like 1 to like 9 million in 3 months in ARR.
Amazing.
Yeah. So we actually and that's what got the VCs really interested in it. And that's how we're able to raise our Series C. And the rest of the year has been kind of in flux because of COVID shutdowns opening. But what's consistent is our ability to acquire barbershops and customers. And we believe like once this turns a corner, we're gonna triple again. So we're just trying to stay the journey and keep on track. And we're grateful that we're able to not only raise around but service our customers with the features, with the PPP loans and what have you. So we're just gonna stay on course.
So we all know, in FinTech and particularly in the payment space, it can be really competitive, really aggressive. What do you think allowed you to sort of, come out of nowhere as a startup and have an opportunity to dominate in this specific customer vertical?
I think it's because of our focus on our customers and how laser focused we are and we're on solving their problems. You look at kind of the other competitors and other companies in the space, most of them are very horizontal, where they're trying to go after a bunch of different industries, from salons to fitness to yoga, et cetera. And barbershops were an afterthought, if that, for these companies. Whereas we took the strategy of really focusing in and kind of like cutting out all the distractions. Early on, investors would always say, why don't you go after nail salons and beauty and this and that? And it was distracting. Sometimes we really considered it. We once thought about, should we do Squire for food trucks type of thing, like what else could we do? But eventually we said, you know what, let's just do what we're best at and do what we can do better than anybody else. And so far, that's proven to be a good strategy.
That's great. Fantastic. Well, I completely agree with you on that one. I think focus and, serving the customer better than anyone else is a winning formula for success. And, now that you're here, you've, probably raised enough capital to last you for a long time. What do you see as the vision for the business and the future of this business? What are the next 5 years you've done 5 years. What are the next 5 years going to look like for Squire?
I mean, I think we're just laser focused on, building a good business. Our next kind of like milestone is $100 million in revenue.
That's what I was going to say. Now you got to get to 100 million. You got into 10, the next is 100.
100 million in revenue.
Yeah.
And we're just laser focused on that goal. And, I think once you get to that or achieve that, you're going to have a lot of options. And we just want to build a good business, unit economically strong, and see where it goes. But also we want to, still keep on servicing our customer, bring the best technology to them. And by default, we think we'll become the de facto leader in the space and achieve that goal of 100 million in 2023.
Yeah,
By 2023.
amazing. That's 2 years, Dave.
Yeah, got a lot of work to do.
I have a question. I kind of want to backtrack just a second. Thinking of like the seed stage leading up to, your Series A fundraising, how important was your advisory board? And then, other founders who were kind of in the same, space with you, like the relationships, the collaboration. How important were both of those things in the early stages of funding?
We didn't have like a formal advisory board or formal advisors. We have a board now, of course, but prior to raising like our Series A, we didn't have really a board. But we always had founders that we reached out to who were, ahead of us, who had kind of done what we're looking to do already. The YC network is very, helpful for that. So like, we're constantly, even now, we reach out to founders of companies who are already at that 100 million mark or past it, and to get insights from them. And I think most founders, one thing I like is that most founders are very, very open to helping other founders, has been my experience. So we try to do the same. And it's very helpful because you don't know it until you've done it. So this some advice you can really only get from founders who have done it before.
Yep.
Yeah, but I mean, the people, it gets less and less though. It gets fewer and fewer at you as you reach each stage. And like, it's unfortunate that, at this stage, there's hardly any Black people ahead of us. And you just have to reach out to folks that, don't look like you, but are cool and learn from them. But like, we're open to, helping people because we were at that stage not too long ago. And, we think that if you can avoid some of the pitfalls we avoided, we fell into, it would probably be best for everybody in the community. So we're very open to speaking to other founders that are at the Series A level and what have you, and just sharing our experiences.
Well, you're both like paving new pathways, and it's so exciting because I feel like I've been, watching this journey from the very beginning. But two things that I'd love for you to tell folks about as you're sharing, how you did it with the audience is, one, you said you didn't get accepted to any accelerators, but of course you did participate in, the top accelerator in the world. So we'd love to hear about how.
It was the third time.
Okay, right. Well, third time's a charm.
Right.
So how did Y Combinator potentially help you? What are your thoughts on your experience there? And then also, you guys were winners of the 43 North competition where, I've been a finals judge for the last 6 years. Would love to hear a little bit about how that opportunity also might have helped you grow the company.
The Y Combinator, yeah, we applied to YC. We got in the third time. We got in when we did the fellowship. We did the YC fellowship, which was like a program that only had three cohorts that they let people in that they saw potential, but weren't ready for the full batch. So we went in there. We got in there. It was a $20,000 grant, and we did that for about 12 weeks, all virtual, and then we got into the core the next time. And YC is very good about making you focus on the stuff that's going to get you funded. And that's what the accelerator. It's not to build product. It's get money in the bag so you can keep doing and keep the business alive. And people don't understand money is a lifeblood. Money is a lifeline. Yeah, and if you have no money and you have no revenue, you're dead in the water. So you have to keep that money in the bank. You have to. And they get very focused about the metrics you need that make the investors want to invest in you. So, and it's a brand too, like not everybody can say it's a Y Combinator company. So once you have that pedigree, you can leverage and you can lean on that pedigree, especially as African American founders. You need some type of cosign. So it's a great cosign to you as well. So I think that was what's most beneficial to me about Y Combinator.
Yeah, I second that, and then just also the network of founders. You know, some of the best founders, you know, of our generation are YC alum, and you can reach out to them, you can get to them, you know, through the network, and that's very powerful. Yeah, 42 North was also a great program that we were really fortunate to win when we won. For those that don't know, it's a pitch competition based in Buffalo, New York. It's funded by the state and other organizations, and it's designed to help bring startups to Western New York area, and to kind of like foster that tech ecosystem. And
the
they have a
prize
pitch
is
competition.
$1 million. So
yeah, it's a major,
no small
big
potatoes if you
checks.
guys won it.
We won second place, and I still,
right.
think we should have won first.
I agree with
second
that.
place was 650,000, so nothing to sneeze at. And the timing of when we did it,
we needed the money.
It was another one of those moments where we were about to run out of money. So we were so happy when we won, because it gave us another, a lifeline.
And from that, we were able to raise more money because we used it as the anchor check to like another bridge round.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. And then we actually opened an office in Buffalo, which we still have, and we hired a bunch of employees there. Pursuant to the agreement, you have to be in New York, in Buffalo for 1 year, but we stayed even after that because we found a lot of great employees there. And yeah, it's been very overall really super positive for the company.
That's amazing. This is such a great story. It's filled with the obstacles, the perseverance, the teachable moments, the learning moments, and also the success of building a business around solving a problem and keeping your customers first.
Yeah, absolutely. And, I think there's such a huge difference between, being a startup founder and running, a company that's valued at $250 million with offices in multiple cities. So can you tell us a little bit about, what you have had to learn as founders, as management, as leadership to grow with this company?
The company changes. The company changes, and you got to change with it. I feel like in the last year, we've gone from about 40 employees to like 140. Wow. And it's two different type of business. You have to have HR, you have to have the stuff you think about that people have problems.
Well, Dave, I know so many founders that say once it gets to 100 employees, I'm out. So you guys have definitely gone over an inflection point.
Yeah, I mean, it gets difficult. I don't know everybody's name, and through COVID, I haven't met in person 80% of the people. And that's scary. And how do you maintain culture and the culture that we want in that type of organization? And I think that's probably what the most challenging thing is. You want your company to run in how you came up and you envisioned. You just want people to be like you. And it's hard to kind of see that when everybody's virtual and you haven't met most of the people. So that's what keeps me up at night. It's just, how do we maintain the culture that Songe and I have, created from the beginning?
Mm-hmm. Another change is going from this early stage startup founder, you're really doing everything, and you need to be a little good at a lot of things, and everybody's wearing a lot of hats, and you need to be able to get in the weeds and be good at it. So either if you're technical, you need to be able to build good products and be good enough to get you to the next level. If you are not technical, you need to be able to sell. You need to be able to get on the phone and convince some people to do some shit and give you money. As the company grows and matures, you really start bringing in executives who are better you at all of those things. They should be. And you know, you should be trying to bring in the best executives, the most experience. And then you're really like delegating a lot of those things that you used to do, you know, to them, and then they're building out their teams. So it's a total different skill set early on, you know, versus later. And you know, the key is to just be able to continue to grow with the company.
Yeah, I love delegating. I always did, but I couldn't do it like before. But like for example, we just hired a VP of finance recently, and both Song and I were just thinking to each other or talking about it. He's like, this guy is really fucking good. He's really good. I'm just like, yo, we really needed a VP of finance. He's like, oh, we don't need a VP of finance. But then when we hired him and we saw some of the stuff that he was doing, he was like, oh, this guy is really good. We needed a VP of finance. So it's those type of things that happen that you realize like, oh, this company, you need some experts. And yeah, that's what that was about.
I'm actually glad that we're talking about this, because Erica and I speak a lot of times about how important the complementary skill sets are when it comes to co-founders and to the executive leadership team. How important was that to the growth of your company between the two of you as co-founders? You know, were there areas that, Dave, you took the lead in and vice versa? Because I have found that a lot of times there's founders who they're all doing the same thing, and it's hard for them to kind of like delegate and let go of certain areas. I would love for you just to speak briefly on that.
Early on, I was a juicer. You know, I would juice up the customers, investors, and just like and get them hyped. And then Song would come with more technical type of, you know, conversations. But I would just get.
He's the black and white, right? He's the
yeah.
So there's no gray for him.
Yeah, but customers, and early on, I was on the road, you know, all the time. I went to a lot of shows. Those first customers, you know, you just got to talk to them. Like there was one guy, one of our first customers. His name was Haven. He has two shops in St. Louis, two barbershops that are doing phenomenal. But I saw him for 3 straight years, and for 3 straight years he told me no. And on the 4th year, he was like, you know, you keep on asking me every year, I'm gonna give you a shot. And this was back in like the first show. We had to sneak in. We snuck into Bronner Brothers, like we snuck into all these places, and then he was like, yeah. You know, because you're persistent, and I think that's what is the difference between, you know, winning and losing. It's grit, determination, and persistence. So I think, you know, just to wrap it around, like I was the juicer and Song was the closer.
And that's great because, you know, co-founder fit is so important to the success of a company. And obviously you guys are great coworkers and great friends. Can you tell us a little bit about how you met each other and decided to work together?
Yeah, so I mean, we met each other at a time when we were both having a lot of fun in New York. You know, in our mid-20s, professionals.
Yeah, I saw that
flashback. Yeah, this is before kids, before, you know, it was a good time. And we used to hang out a lot. We had a lot of mutual friends. And so the foundation was social, you know, built in good times and just, you know, having fun and getting to know each other. And we were good friends. And that is a good way, in my opinion, to like start a relationship as founders if you have a foundation already as friends to some extent. And if you get along with somebody and you spend time with them, it's very dangerous to meet somebody that you don't know and make them a co-founder. You know, we've done that too.
It didn't work out too well.
It didn't work out. Yeah. So it's worked out, you know, well for us there.
That's fantastic. Well, we have a couple questions from the audience, and as it's 3:45, I want to let everyone who's in the audience know that if you have a question for the Squire team, you can put it in the chat and we'll get an answer to you. There's also a Q&A button. So I'll start off with a question from Matt Cochard, who says, that he'd love to hear about your personal experience and emotions around taking the leap of faith to start a company. And at what point were there any personal finance pain points along the way? I'm sure there were some.
Oh man, there was a lot of those. Personal finance. What about? Listen, I got evicted. I had to move home. Like that's the real thing. But like, there was no way, I was not doing this. And I feel like, like Jay-Z has a line for everything. And when the line that comes to mind is like, Ashley Knuckles, a lot of lives lost by the Project Benz, not a cent. Gotta make money. Gotta bring dollars in. You just gotta hustle. When your back is to the wall, you gotta hustle, and you have to commit. Like, this is what I'm gonna do, and no matter what, this is what I'm gonna do. And people, it gets glorified, but it's tough, and a lot of folks don't make it. But I believe that if you focus and devote 100% to something, you will be successful in some capacity. Maybe not your original idea, but some way, because you're devoting yourself to something. A lot of people say they do something, want to do something, and don't give it their all. They cheat, But if you're giving something your all, you're working at it, you got to be successful in some capacity. So, the biggest risk is not taking the risk.
And you know what, Dave, I'm so glad you were transparent with that answer about, your home situation and getting evicted. Of course, we never want to hear those stories, but that's a real story. And I think that, founders in the startup world need to understand that the commitment is real. And, I know a lot of times because of social media, everyone sees the success, but the journey is a real process. And it's a constant process. And the more money you raise, the more accountable you are now. And no one really talks about those things, but the process to success, it doesn't look good. It doesn't feel good. It's actually uncomfortable.
It's very uncomfortable.
It's painful.
Yeah.
What about you, Song? What were your pain points?
I mean, I had been working at this law firm, very prestigious firm, making pretty good, salary. Left all that, went to zero pretty much, and pretty much started all over because nobody in tech gives a shit where you went to law school. So like that brought me nothing. Blew probably $100,000 worth of savings. Not blew, lived off of $100,000 worth of savings. Went from that all the way to pretty much zero. Had to get personal loans to be able to keep paying my mortgage, and I have a family, so I have wife and kids to provide for already at this time, but still putting it all online, and always believed that this was going to work. So I never doubted it, and it was an easy decision to make the leap because I really didn't like what I was doing, and I really wanted to be an entrepreneur. But financially, it can be very painful and stressful. When you don't know how you're going to pay rent, and you've only got a couple months of rent or mortgage payments left, and your stress level will increase a lot, and you have to be able to work through it.
Yeah, like you got to be able to work through it. Like our Series A was down to the buzzer. It was down to the buzzer. Like it was down to. There's one only way to explain it. Like we couldn't make payroll one week, and somebody inadvertently wired a week early from the close date, and we were able to make payroll. It was $50,000. They sent it early, wherever make payroll, and then we closed the Series A 2 weeks later. But if that wire didn't go through, if they didn't make that mistake, we wouldn't be able to make payroll that week. But I feel like that happens so many times that we almost ran out of money, like 4 or 5 times, and some miraculous way we were able to fight through it. Like even the 43 North, we weren't gonna do the 43 North stuff, but we said, fuck it, let's do it anyway. And we were able to win second place. And if we didn't do it, we'd have ran out of money. And yeah, that's been a common theme. So I think
hopefully never again though.
Never
ever again. That's why we raised so much. We didn't need
I think you guys
because of what we had been through, we're like, nah, whatever we're gonna raise the most we can raise. We never want to be in that position again.
Yeah, because now you get to sit in a place where you get to really just focus on scaling the business in the
and
most
relaxing
profitable way with the customers.
and it kind of that kind of almost running out of money, like it clouds your vision, but you remember it. You remember that feeling. And
It's
you
like
don't want to.
grandparents that lived through the Depression,
Right.
but so you'll be
This is great. That's great. I wonder
great.
if
Well, we have one more question from Doug Slattery, who says, have you guys had to decline investor offers either because you've met your ask, they're not a good fit, or other reasons? And how was that experience? So have you ever had to turn down money?
Yeah, I mean, this last couple rounds, you know, we're oversubscribed, and it's always awkward, especially if it's like former earlier investors who want to invest more, and you just can't make the numbers work. So it's a good problem to have, but yeah, we've had those conversations.
Yeah, but I don't care, bro. I don't care. I mean, whatever, they get over it. If you have one company and they have 10, 15 companies, not saying anything about you guys, but it just, you got to think about yourself. You got to think about yourself. You got to think you got to operate as an entrepreneur. You got to operate what's in your best interest. Because, you know, at the end of the day, you know, if you succeed, you only got one company. The VC's got 20 companies, and it's important that you become, you know, successful for yourself and your family. So I think you need to operate what's in your best interest most of the time.
And
your
when
shareholders.
Yeah, shareholders, yeah.
Right.
But if it's
yeah, I know what you mean though, because investors investors have their own interests that are not always aligned with yours as a founder. You know, it's just
right.
true.
That's so true. I mean, I know Eric and I have experience where we've actually had to support and protect founders that we've really believed in, where they took dollars from investors who, you know, would like to remove them as the head of the company. And these are real things. These are real situations. So it
happens
is
all the time.
super important of who you take. It's your partner. You're literally in partnership with these investors now.
It's a marriage.
Oh, you're welcome,
but as you get more successful, you have more leverage, because, you know, like, and it starts to shift. We're seeing it shifting now, because now you built this company that's XYZ. You know, everybody's looking up to you. So if somebody in these VCs, one thing they do care about is their reputation. They care about that, because you can kill their deal flow if you have enough juice in the industry. You can say, hey, don't talk to these investors, and people will, you know, because they're competing for deal flow too. And they don't want their reputation to be tarnished, especially by somebody that's successful.
Even more reason to be successful.
Right.
Well, I just, you know, we're running out of time, but I want to thank you, Dave and Songe, so much for joining me and Monique today. We can't tell you how honored we are to have you on the show, as well as just to have had the opportunity to see you build what you've been building in real time. It's been super impressive, and I think an inspiration to a lot of people in the startup community. So to end, I'd love for each of you to give our audience one piece of advice that you would have from the fundraising perspective about building your startup. So somebody who's right at the beginning, has not raised yet, what would be the one piece of advice that you could give them about raising venture capital?
I would say, my one piece of advice would say, build a good business. Build a good business. Build a good business, and the money will come to you. You always want to be in a position of leverage, where you have leverage. And if you don't need the money, then you have the most leverage.
That's great.
Good.
Yeah, similarly, I mean, I was going to say that traction solves everything. Whatever problems your business having, if you get more traction and keep growing faster, it'll solve those problems. You know, you'll get investors interested. You'll be able to get revenue eventually. You'll get more customers. So if you can focus on anything, just focus on growth, focus on traction, and like they said, building a good business, and the money will come.
That's great. That's really good advice too.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, that's fantastic advice. And we are really looking forward to watching what's to come from Squire over the next couple of years, seeing you guys hit your $100 million in revenue target and this become one of the next big FinTech unicorns. You're easily on the path to reaching that. So I just want to thank you both and to thank everyone who attended today to join us for the Series A list with Rain Ventures. If you're a founder and you're interested in raising startup capital from Rain Ventures, please visit our website, rainvc.com. And if you're an investor who's looking for LP opportunities, you can also visit our website and email us at info@rainvc.com or erica@rainvc.com. We'd love to talk to you about amazing opportunities to invest in great startups like the ones that we've had on this show. So thanks everybody so much, Dave and Song. I hope you guys have a wonderful afternoon. And Monique, any closing words?
No, I just want to first just tell the guys, congratulations again. It is such an honor when we see, especially Black men lead the pathway for other Black and brown people, because you can't really be what you can't see. And so now you all have the information, and thank you for actually holding yourselves accountable to share, because that is part of, what we have to take on as we become successful. So thank you. And I'm just super happy. I'm super excited to see you both reach that goal for 2023.
Thank you.
Thank you for taking an hour out of your day. I appreciate it, like, wholeheartedly. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
My pleasure.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
See you next time.
Bye.